Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Recording in progress.
What did you guys cover last week?
So last week, um, Obala he had like a work emergency, so he couldn't take us last week. So at the very last minute, I was able to get IG to just fill in, and IG talked about um regression and descriptive and statistics and all that. He said he talked about it with relation to the kind of work he does at his place of work. So he talked about descriptive statistics, prescriptive, um, yeah, and likes.
Oh, okay. So just how he applies regression in his work, use cases in his work.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay. That's good. Hello. Peter, easy. How are we doing?
I
Hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay, that's fine. So we are the rest now.
Still trying to get them to join the meeting.
All right, okay. For those of us that are here, have we already installed Python? The Anaconda.
So mine just finished installing.
Oh,
Hi, still in the process. Good
Oh.
afternoon.
oh.
Mine got frozen, so I
installing mine now.
restarted my system.
Oh, well, All right, can we start? Because I'll be having another session immediately.
Can start.
All right. Good day, everyone. So I believe now Python has been installed. Has it?
I've installed, just trying to register.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So when you have installed the Anaconda, you have something like this, right? So maybe anyone you can put either you just come here to new and Python. Okay, good. So what we are going to see is that if you remember how we started, right? That as analysts, there are basically three things we do. And what are they? What are the three things we do as analysts?
We extract.
You would extract data, right? What do you do again?
Analyze and visualize.
You analyze, right? And you would visualize. I think this is what we say we normally do, right? What tool do we need to extract the data?
MySQL.
You use what? SQL. What tool do you need to analyze? What tool do you need to analyze?
R.
We can use what? R.
Python.
Yes. What other tool? Can we use to analyze data?
Excel.
You can use your Excel. Good.
You can
What
use
other tool? You can use what?
Python.
You can use Python also, isn't it? You can use what? Python. All right. Then to visualize the data, what tool do we need?
Power BI.
You can use your Power BI.
Tableau.
You can use your Tableau, isn't it? You can use your Tableau. Right. Now, you also can use your R and you can also use your Python. Okay. So most of all these things we do, we have been using Excel, isn't it? We have shown how to use Excel, isn't it? And we have seen that where the data isn't too large, Excel can still work. Okay. But the challenge comes when the data starts growing, the volume of transactions in the business starts growing, isn't it? Now Excel has its own limitations, you know. So how many rows can Excel take?
1 million.
About 1 million rows, is it not? So once your data starts getting to 1 million, you already know that your business has already outgrown Excel, isn't it? So either you now have to move into what a proper database, isn't it? You now move into a proper database, right? Which means gradually you have been moving from those clicks down to more about coding, isn't it? So you have migrated down from your Excel to coding, isn't it? And again, when you want to do some kind of analysis, especially much more advanced analytics, right? Excel may be a bit limited. Not that Excel cannot do it, because you also have some third-party add-ins. Okay, so Excel can also do that. But now, to take it to its own space, then this is where your R and Python now comes into play. So for much more advanced analytics, like your machine learning models, right? automation, right? So this is where you now have to go into what programming, okay? Because there are certain tasks that you want to do, you also want to automate it, right? So that's why we now have moved from what Excel into more of what coding, okay? And when you're writing codes, it's not just about, because like, for example, I never had computer background or a programming background. So I've never liked programming. It never made sense to me, right? Because I believe that if I can just click, and I get the results, why would I be wasting my time to start cramming all these codes? And how will I remember all these codes? So that has always been my own challenge, right? Because I will never remember all those codes. And another thing you should take note of is that on movies, when you see those hackers, they are typing, those are movies. So in real life, they don't type that way. Okay, so they don't always remember all the codes like that. So when you go to things like cargo, is it not? When there you have these competitions, you even see all those grandmasters, those guys who even win these things, they'll still tell you that they are still learning. They don't know everything. And irrespective of all the programming languages you learn, right? You may be diverse by programming language, but you are united by Stack Overflow. Okay, so they still have a place that they go and still will check for solutions. Okay, they still go to where they can check for solutions. So you don't necessarily need to cram all the code. Just understand, what do I want to do? And always remember that I always like using this framework for you, so that you always remember what you are actually trying to do. You are trying to extract the data, you are trying to analyze the data, and you are trying to visualize the data, isn't it? And if you remember in Power BI, we're trying to import the data, is it not? After importing the data, what did we try to do?
Clean the data.
Clean the data, isn't it? We try to clean the data. So clean and transform the data. Okay. After clean and transform, what do we do next?
We load.
Yes, okay, that's your extract, transform, and load, right? Good. So after that, what next?
Analyze.
You analyze, right? But you see, before we analyze, there's something we did here. Before you start analyzing, you import the data, you clean it. What's next thing? You build what?
Model.
Model.
Your data model, is it not?
Yes.
So in the process of your analysis, then you can now start your analysis, right? And in analyzing, that's when you want to now create your own unique measures, is it not?
Yes.
Have your own unique insights. And at the end of the day, you want to visualize it, right? So just think about all these things, right? Because if you get to certain points that we don't want to do this task every time, right? So we want to automate it, okay? And in automating the process, right, we also need some coding. So that's where coding now comes in, to make life. So all those repetitive tasks, we just write the code once. We don't even need to go back to the process. It's already there. Our own job is just to run it. But more importantly, just understand what I want to do. So as analyst, I want to import the data. So the question now, how do I import data? Irrespective of the tool I'm working with, whether it's Python, R, whatever tool, how do I import the data? So if I'm in Python, I'll be asking myself, okay, how I want to import the data. Okay, so I import the data. Now, how do I clean the data? Now, it depends on how you want to clean, is it not? Am I trying to remove blank spaces? Am I trying to remove blank rows, empty columns, delete rows, delete columns, is it not? Merge, is it not? So these are different things that you may want to do. So as long as you know what you want to do, then you now ask, how will I achieve it? So you must know what you are trying to achieve. Okay, so that's why it's important. You must have a framework of thinking how you want to achieve it. So irrespective of the tool you are going into, because at the end of the day, whether I use R, Excel, Python, that I know Python or Excel does not make me a data analyst, right? Or a data scientist. It's how I use it. that you have learned programming. That's why you see somebody who can build games. Does not make him a data scientist. Okay, that he knows how to code does not make you a data scientist. So at the end of the day, it's just a tool, it's a means to an end, not the end in itself. Okay, so at the end of the day, it is this process that will help us achieve for certain objectives. Okay, so what you need to understand is, what are those things I need to do as analyst? I want to import my data. I need to learn how to clean my data. I need to learn how to build my models. I need to learn how to analyze my data. I need to learn how to visualize. But again, here Python now has its advantage almost above all of them, is because you can also deploy. There's also the aspect of what deployment. Okay, you can now deploy it. Okay, so that's where Python again now has its advantage even over R. Yes, R we can also deploy, but it's easier to work with what Python when it comes to deployments. Okay, so deployment is another aspect again. All right, deployment is another aspect again. So when you are looking at it, you ask, how do I import the data? How do I clean? How do I build the model? Because even when you are extracting your data and using SQL, even right inside Python, you can be typing your SQL scripts. Okay, right inside Python, you can also write your SQL script. Even your Power BI, do you know that even inside your Python, you can also actually visualize your Power BI dashboard inside Python? Okay, so Python is now like a very robust tool which you can use. That's why almost everybody is going into Python. But how deep you go into it depends on the direction you are going into, because Python can be used for different things. It's a very versatile tool. You can use it for web development. You can use it for game development. You can use it for mathematical analysis. You can use it for statistical data analysis, right? You can use it to build models, right? So all those AI you hear of, Python that they are still using, okay, to automate all those tasks. The machine learning model, the deep learning, is still Python. Okay, and Python again has a very robust libraries that you can use for almost everything, right? For almost everything. And please take note. Remember, it's just a means to an end. Just like the way you are hearing Python, in the near future, now you start hearing about Julia. Oh, Julia. Well, I've not finished learning one. They are bringing another one for me again. Just remember that the same way you approach it is the same way you say, okay, how do I do these steps in this whatever tool I am using? Okay, because you can move to another organization, they are using R. Maybe you have learned Python now, but it's the same concept. Okay, but you don't see minor differences. So for example, in your R, I'm sure you guys do assignment of variables. For example, for R, you see something like this. One, this is assignment. But in Python, is A is equals to 1. Meanwhile, in R, you can also do the same thing, that A is equals to 1. So you see there are similarities. It's just for you to know their own syntax. But you must know what you are trying to achieve. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to cram all the codes, because that's most of our fear, that we need to cram the codes. You don't actually need to do that. Okay, just as you are learning, just say to import data, you write the code there. To clean data, you write whatever task you want to do. So and another thing you must learn is how to comment, to document, because one skill you must also learn as analysis, to document. You don't want a situation where you are on vacation or you are somewhere and they are calling you, how did you do this? What are you trying to do there? So you have to always put comments. Always put comments, okay? So with Python, as we have said, it's a very versatile tool, isn't it? So your own is to choose the path you are going into, and the path we are going is data science, right? More like data analysis and data science path. That's the path we are going, okay? Because there are a whole lot of libraries. That's why you can see somebody who can maybe write a video game in Python, you may not be able to do machine learning or data analysis. But if he wants to learn it, it will be easier for him to learn, right? But the point is that he has learned how to build a video game does not necessarily mean that he's a data scientist. So Python at the end of the day is just a tool, it's a means toward an end. Okay, not the end in itself. I hope that's clear. Are we clear with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So we're going into Python now, because globally now, as data analyst, now you start seeing that record. So basic skills you must learn. At least you must be able to use Excel, isn't it? You must be able to use SQL. But Python, not necessarily. But even at all, you want to use Python, but not so deep. Okay, you must not go deep as a data scientist. But if you have some skills in Python, that's fine. Also with R, but not compulsory. Okay, but if you have it, that will also give you an added advantage. All right. And when we start this task, you see, irrespective of the tool we are using, there's always a data type, is it not? So just like in your Excel, you have data types in Excel. What are the data types in Excel? What are the data types in Excel?
Numbers.
You have numbers,
Text.
you have text,
Boolean.
Boolean, Boolean, any other one?
Date.
Date, okay. Now you see in Excel, date is part of numbers, right? So basically we have 4, right? So we have number, text, Boolean, the formulas of functions. Is it not? Because that's how Excel will identify it. There's a formula or what? A function. So the same thing with Python. It has its own data types. Right? It has its own what? Data types. Okay? And it's those data types that we must understand how we enter what? The data. Okay? How we enter it. So if you see your Python, so Python in itself, remember, is a high-level language, which means it's like English language, just like English language, and it's very easy to understand. So that's why you see that for most of the tools or most of the other programming languages, right, why people struggle with it, it's a bit technical. But Python is user-friendly, very easy to understand, especially as beginners. How many of us here have some programming backgrounds? Anybody here with computer science background?
I'm
A
engineering.
little programming background.
Is that what?
I said I did C, is it C plus or what in school? So
Okay,
that
C++, C#. Okay, at least you did some elements of programming, right? And you see how technical sometimes it can be, especially when you are not interested in it. You say, man, this is go hard though. But Python, no matter how you see it, to start, it is very easy to start with. Very easy, right? So just for example, so when you are typing at the background, you have what they call your Python shell, right? So that's the black screen at the end. So all those black screens you see, sometimes they can be very intimidating, right? Very intimidating. There's one. So when you open your Python there, you see something, one black screen. Have you noticed that? You see one black screen like this. Have we seen something like this? Have we seen this?
Okay, yes.
So this is like the engine at the background, is it not? That's running everything. Because when you see this type of screen, first of all, you'll be very scared, is it not? So they now say, please don't be scared about this. So they now came up with something that is very easy for you to understand, what they call a GUI, graphical user interface, is it not? Which when you look at it, and please never close this. So when you are running your Python, because if you close this, you cannot run any command again. So this is the engine at the back end. Okay, you will not be able to run anything. So do not close it. So they now have what they call an integrated development environment, IDE, which is just like a graphical user interface, which is more user-friendly compared to that black screen you're seeing at the back end, is it not? So this is much more user-friendly. So here is where you are going to type. So like in Excel, you know, you have cells, is it not? In Excel is made up of what? Rows and columns, is it not? And where
Yes.
the rows and columns meet is called what?
A
Where the
cell.
rows and it's called a cell in this Jupyter notebook. So this Jupyter notebook is an example of what? An IDE. So when you open, for example, your Anaconda contains a lot of IDEs, right? A lot of them. So Jupyter is just one of them, right? Jupyter is just one of them. Let's see if we can open it. You see other types. Anaconda, okay, yes. So let me open that Anaconda so you can see. So this should be the Anaconda. Okay, it's open. The opening. So you notice that when you open Anaconda, you see a whole lot of other things there, is it not? If you wonder, what are all these things doing here? Aha, so let me share my screen now. My IDE refused to share. Okay, let me see. Okay, good. So you see the Anaconda navigator. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
The Jupyter notebook is just one of them. All this is what you can use to write your Python scripts. All of them. Like your Spider. Spider is another popular one. Do you see who you have R? You see your R Studio? So it means you can even write your R inside the Anaconda. Okay? You see Orange is another one. Spider is another one. PyCharm is another one, right? So the easiest, it's just like you have your, you know, like in SQL, right? You have the different flavors, right? You have the different DBMS. You can have MySQL. You have Microsoft SQL Server. You have which other one again? Which other one do we have again for SQL?
BigQuery.
BigQuery. Okay. Which other one again do we have? Beaver. SQLite. Is it not? Now these are the different what? DBMS. That's how this is also. Where you can write your Python what? Scripts. So just like you have MySQL. So of all of them, MySQL seems to be most user-friendly, is it not? Before we start introducing to things like Microsoft SQL Server, SQLite, and the rest. Okay. So that's the same way Jupyter Notebook is. It's also one of the easiest to understand. But as you progress, when it then comes to, as you get more advanced, you will now need to install what they call Visual Studio. Okay, so that's where, as you advance, that's where for our analysts, you can use your Jupyter Notebook, you are fine. But as you start progressing, then you now have to also go and get what Visual Studio. Okay, so that's where like all the stuff happens there, right? Deployment, analysis, everything happens there. PyCharm is also okay, but it's a bit, sometimes it's not so user-friendly. People will not really understand it that much. So that's why normally I prefer using what? The Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so Jupyter Notebook, just think about it like MySQL. Much more user-friendly. Much more user-friendly. All right. So once you have opened it, right? This is also called a cell. Can you see that? This is called a cell. This is a cell now. So here's where you can type. So I can type anything you can type here. So once I type, for example, I type 1, I'll press enter. So if you press enter, you notice it's going to a new line. It's going to a new line. So here, when you want to run, you press Control Enter. So you can see input, output. Can you see that? Input, output. Okay, so when I press Control Enter, that's how to run it. So you see, I can click here, run. Can you see that? Or if I come here and say 1 + 1, Control Enter, can you see that? This is my input, this is my output. Input, output, input, output. Can you see that now? Your input and your what? Output. Okay. So whenever you see cell, can you see cell? So run cell, Control Enter. Can you see that? Run cell and select below. Run. So if I say alternate enter, let's say alternate enter. Can you see that? It's opening a new cell for me. Alternate enter. Sometimes when you're running out of cells, you just press alternate what? Enter. Okay. But to run it is what? Control Enter. Can you see that? So just like we have different data types, right? You have your numbers. That's the same way you have numbers here. So it means with numbers, I can also carry out some what arithmetic operations. So, for example, I can add, I can subtract, I can divide, I can multiply, isn't it? So the same way I have done it, 10 plus 2. What do I expect to get? What do I expect to get?
So
I expect to get 12. That is the same thing that happens when you are programming. First of all, when you are writing it, you already know what you should expect to get, isn't it? You should already know what you expect to get because you know what you want to do. Okay. So if, for example, I have, okay, I want to write a text. A text, I must always use quotation mark, just like in Excel. If I say if cell A1 is greater than 50, comma, call it what? Good. You know, I'll put a quotation mark. That's the same way this also works. Okay, so anytime you are entering a text, you put a word quotation mark. Now you can either put a double quotation mark, or you can put what? A single quotation mark. It will still work. It will still work. Okay, it will still work. But we'll show you much later when to use, when one will be more appropriate, right? But double quotation mark, most times that's what you can use. It will work fine for you. Okay, but if you use single, that's also fine. All right, so we said that for numbers, you can actually what? Apply what? Arithmetic what? Operations. It means I can add, I can multiply, I can divide, and all of them will give me some certain what? Outcomes. Okay, so whenever you are typing, so you type in the cell, is it not? And to run that cell, what do? You press Control what? Enter. Okay. You press what? Control Enter. Now, another thing again is that, for example, if I wanted to type maybe data types, you see, I want, if I run it like, say it like it normally will not run, right? It will not run. But if I want to make sure that this data type remains, so there's something they call a comment. We just comment it out. Can you see that? Comment, that's hashtag. It's called comment. If you comment, so it will not run it. You just put it like a normal text for you. Another way again we can do that. Sometimes when you come here to your, you see where you are running. Do you notice that here is a code? You notice here is a code. So when time means code, it means I can run it. But if I change it to a markdown, you see I can type anything there. I don't need to run anything. Can you see that? That's what they call a markdown. So it now turns like a notepad. Or I can do a heading. But I take it to a heading now. Can you see that becomes bigger? Can you see that? So maybe I can say data type. Can you see that? So it now becomes like a heading. Okay, so they come in what your markdown. But if I want to run it like a code, I have to switch it back to code. So can we see how it works? So most time for it to run, always ensure that it's on what code. But in case I want to type a heading there, then I can put it to heading or markdown, depending on what you want to do there. Are we clear with that?
Yes.
If I say data types, right? Data types, and I run that. So you see that's a markdown. So I don't have to, but if I say heading, you see it becomes much more bigger. Right? So I run that. So you now say data types. Can you see that? So data types. So that's what we want to deal with, data types. Isn't it? So in Excel, we say we have numeric. Which other one do we have again?
Boolean.
Numeric. We have Boolean, isn't it?
Yes.
We
Text.
have what again? Text. Exactly, text. Right. So those three are common in Python also, right? So you can also have numeric. And you know, in Excel, under numeric, right, you can have decimal, is it not? You can have two decimal places, you can have whole numbers, is it not? So here,
Yeah.
in the same way, you can have integers, right? You can have a float. What's a float? When here a float,
Decimals.
is decimal. It means what? Decimal, right? You can have even complex numbers. You can even have what? Complex numbers. Okay, you can even have what? Complex what? Numbers. All right. We talked about strings, you know. We talked about strings, you know. Strings. Strings are also known as what? Text. String or text. Right. So under string, you can have str. So when you have str means what? Str means what? STR stands for what? When I see STR, it means what?
Structure. String.
It means it's a string, is it not? STR is what? String. It means is what is string. So that's a text. Okay, so that is what? A text. However, we have some other data types, right? We have some other data types, a bit different from the way we have been doing it in Excel. Okay, so we have something called sequence. We have something called sequence, but under that, you can have things like, you have some things like list, right? You have things like tuples. You have things like what? Which other one? I think you can even have, okay, sets. You even have sets. You have things like, I think you even have range there. Yes, there's even range. You can even have range. Okay. So these are now specific kind of data types, as different from the way you understand it in Excel. Even you can have some mapping. So you can even have mapping like dictionaries. Dictionaries, right? We'll go through all of them one by one. I just want to highlight some of them that you can. Anyone you remember, please, whoever is familiar with it, just in case I forget some of them. Then you have your sets, just like in your mathematics, you have sets, right? You have your what? Sets. Okay. Then we talked about Boolean, is it not? So Boolean is simply bool. Now, are you noticing something? When it's in black and when it's in green, what does it tell you? When it's in black and when it's in green, what does it tell you? When it's in black, when it's in green, what does it tell you? When it's in black,
when it's in green, it's a keyword.
It's a keyword, is it not? It's a keyword, is it not? Because that's how Python recognizes it as a keyword. But if you're writing it on your maybe your shell, is it not? It just writes them everything white unless you understand it. But with this, you can actually understand what you are trying to achieve, is it not? So you know that okay, this is a word keyword. But when it's black, you are writing it normally. Okay. Then take note, whenever I write it in quotation mark, you see the color has changed again. So when it's in red, or is that red or orange? I don't know which color is that. Is that red, orange, maroon? Which color is in there? Good. Which color is that?
Red.
Okay, so whenever you see it in red, what does that tell you?
It's a string.
It's a string, is it not? It tells you that it's what? A string. Okay, so those are the little things you just need to be taking note of. Then for your binary, Just like you have your boolean, you also have your bytes. You can also have bytes. So this is a bit much more robust than Excel. So it goes beyond your normal words Excel data types. Okay, it goes beyond your Excel word data types. So these are the basic data types, right? But as we progress, anyway, I remember and we need to explain it. But you see, as data analysis, not all of them you actually would need, right? Not all of them you actually would need. As data analyst, which one here will be relevant for you now? As data analyst, which one will be relevant for you as data analyst? As a data analyst, which one will be relevant for you?
No binary will not be relevant.
Will not be so relevant, isn't it?
Yes.
What's mapping? Is it mapping?
Mapping, right? Mapping. So you just like say Peter, man. You know, yeah, female. Is it not? So you're mapping it. That's mapping. That's mapping. No, we'll go through all of them one after the other, but just for you to see. Okay, as analysts now, just think about your Excel. What are those data types you actually work with most times?
Text and string.
Work with text, is it not? You want strings.
Yes.
So here we'll be talking about strings, right? We'll talk about strings. So strings, you work with what again?
Text.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's string, that's your
numeric.
string.
Number.
Numeric, which is your integers and floats.
Yes.
Is it not? Then
Yes.
much later, we'll see that sometimes we want to map an integer with a string. Then we can talk about dictionary. Or we can write a list of what? Integers. That's a list or a tuple or a range. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So those are the common ones we'll be working with: integers, float, string, maybe lists and range, then dictionary. Those are the basic ones we'll be working with. But as you start going deeper and deeper, so irrespective of what you want to use Python to do, there are certain basics you must understand. Is it not? And one of the basics we must understand is the data type. So how do we enter the data in Python? Now, please take notes. Take notes. Because most of us have, how many of us were in the SQL session? How many of us attended the SQL session? Now, if you notice something about SQL, you know why it makes life easy for you? You know why SQL makes life easy for you? It is not case sensitive. But you see Python. You see Python. Python is extremely case sensitive. Francis. Am I right? Francis is not the same thing as Francis. It's not the same thing as Francis. They are different things. Okay? So you must be very careful. So it is extremely case sensitive. A is not the same thing as A. They are different things. So you must be extremely careful. So to avoid problem, please take note. This is not an essay that you are writing grammar. They are looking at your quotation, your capitalization. Nobody cares about it. To avoid problem, I use God to beg you. Write everything lowercase. You now say, oh, I want to write a name. I want to start capital letter and start writing like this. Okay. When you continue, by the time you want to start extracting, now that's when you start having the problem. You tell you not found. And you know when Python wants to give you his error, instead of it to tell you where the problem is, it will give you one full paragraph. And you wonder where you start from. Is it not? So be able to wonder, if you can have time to give me this long paragraph of error, why can't you use that time to find the solution for me? Isn't it? So please, Python is extremely case sensitive. Okay? So preferably write everything in what lowercase to avoid problem. Do we get that? Write everything in lowercase to avoid what problem. Okay? Good. So that's for your data types, okay? So we started by looking at what numeric, is it not? Numeric. So under numeric, we can talk about what integers and floats, right? So we'll be talking, so the basic ones will be working, essentially we're working as data analysts. Remember that we are working as data analysts, we are not working as programmers. So, but as you start progressing, by the time you are going beyond data analysis now, you are now going to some form of automation. There is some of this programming stuff will now come into, okay? But for now, we are going to be learning Python as what? Data analysts. Is that clear?
Yes.
We will not be going too deep, because by the time we start going into deep of programming, we may start losing the essence of it. So that's why I want to let's be focused on where we are heading to with it. Okay. But anytime we need to draw our attention to certain things, I will always do that. Because there are some programming skills you must also learn. So let's start with the numeric, right? So one of them is integer. So when you hear integers, what does integers represent? When you say integer, this is an integer.
Whole numbers.
Yeah, whole numbers, isn't it? So when I put 12, 13, is it not? 10, is it not? These are what? Integers. Can you see that? They are what? Integers. So anything that is counting whole number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are what? Integers. What about floats? When you say floats, what is a float?
Decimal.
They are decimals, is it not? They are what? Decimals. So which means for floats, I can have things like what? 1.1. Is it not?
Yes.
1.1. Let's say we have 10.2. 5. Okay, let's say 4.5. 10.2. Okay. So these are what examples of what? Floats. Is that clear? So that's an example of what? A float. Okay. Now you see, when you want to add up, remember for integers, you can carry out arithmetic what? Operations. Is it not? You can carry out what? Arithmetic what? Operations. And what are some of the arithmetic operations we can carry out?
Addition.
You can what?
Add.
You can add, is it not? You can add, you can what? Divide, is it not? You can
Yes.
multiply, isn't it? So if I have 1 plus 1, is it not? I have 2, is it not? 4 plus 2. Can you see what has happened here now? What has happened here?
It's made a header.
It has made it a markdown, is it not? Can I add up in the markdown?
No.
So it will not add up, it's not, it just be like that. For you to add up, what do you need to do? You make sure that it's what? A code. Can you see that? You make sure that it's what? A code.
Were you the one that changed it to Markdown?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever you are running, just make sure that's in what? Code. So because sometimes you have run it, you are clicking, it's not running. So you go and check there whether it's marked down. Now, please let me tell you something. Especially for those who are just starting into programming there, this thing can be very frustrating, though. Right? It can be frustrating. Now, but the good part of it is that you learn from your errors. If I am typing, maybe I am typing 1 plus 1, and you are getting the exact answer every time, you are not learning yet. Do you know when you learn? When you make errors. When you make error, that's actually when you are learning. So if I say 1 plus and I run, it has given me error. Once I am able to correct that error, I now know what not to do next time. Isn't it? But if you are, maybe especially you are learning an online course, right? You know, because they are doing it systematically, it's working. You know, you are saying, thank God, I am now an analyst. By the time they leave you on your own, you'll be like, where do I start from? Okay, because you are running, it's not running, you are running, it's not running. Okay, when you are getting errors, the more errors you get, you should be happy, although it will be frustrating. But once you have learned it, is it not? You have corrected it. You now know what not to do next time. And trust me, from beginner level to the professionals, even hackers who can really use different code, there will always be errors. So your own job, in fact, most of the time, you spend time even correcting the errors. Sometimes if you are using 1 hour, you can imagine maybe 30 minutes of it, you are trying to figure out one particular problem. But once you have figured that problem out, every other thing will flow. So sometimes you must learn how to correct those errors, which we call debugging. So when they say I'm debugging, it means they are trying to fix the errors. There's a bug, there's an error somewhere. Okay. And again, another thing you also need to also understand is that you can write the code, but there are proper way of writing certain things. Right? There are proper way of writing certain things. In Python, when you're writing in the proper way, they tell you it is Pythonic. So when they say it's Pythonic, what does that mean? When they say something is Pythonic, what does it mean? When they say it's Pythonic, what does it mean? When they say something is Pythonic, what does it mean? It's Pythonic. Yes, what does it mean?
Doesn't mean it's correct.
It means what?
It's correct.
Correct. So you know, like in Excel, in Excel, they have different ways of doing the same thing. You know, in Excel, there are different ways of doing the same thing.
Yes.
I can decide to type 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, 3 manually. I will achieve the same thing. I can decide to write 1, 2, highlight it and drag down to 100. It will work. But if I want to get 1 to 1000, I'm still dragging. Somebody will go to fill series, column, stop at 1000, enter, and to run to 1000. Isn't it? The same task we wanted to achieve, there are different ways of doing it, but one method will be more efficient, is it not? So when you say something is Pythonic, it means it's the most efficient way of doing it. Do you understand that? So there are different ways of doing something in Python, and that's where Python is like when you're using programming, it's just like a blank canvas. It's your imagination that will help you achieve it. Just the same way you say it has worked, somebody can find a much better way to fix it. Like you means when I keep learning, right? By the time you see how somebody else would do the code, you'll be like, okay, this would have even better. So what you'd have written 10 lines of code, somebody would have just used like 3 lines. So which one will you prefer? 10 lines of code or 3 lines of code? Which one will you prefer?
3 lines.
You see, it can be 3 lines, right? But as long as you are checking, at least somebody can easily understand. And remember, especially when you are going to work in the organizations, you are not going to be working alone. It's not. So sometimes you may have completed your particular task. You will now have to pass it on to the next person, and they'll go through your code to see what you have done. Right? So you must write it in such a way that is easily understandable. Okay? So learning is one thing, but also always learn to document. If I want to document, how do I always document? If I want to document, what do? I always put comments, is it not? So I can just put that. So what? Add the numbers, is it not? So I just put a comment there. Right? So add the numbers, is it not? So I can just say 100 plus 100. I'll run. Can you see that? So when somebody now sees, okay, you now understand what I was trying to do. So always use what? Comments. Okay? So when we are applying arithmetic operations, we can add. So we have seen addition. We can what? Subtract. Is it not? 10 minus 6. What would that give us? That will give us 4. Is it not? We can what? Multiply 10 times 2. 20. Is it not? Now, for example, in Excel, if I want to do square root, if I want to do a square, how do I do a square? 10 raised to power 2. How will I do it in Excel? 10 raised to power 2. How do I do it in Excel? You use raised to like this, is it not?
Yes.
This is how you do it in Excel, is it not? But in Python, this is not how it works. Okay, so for Python, to raise to power 2, what do? You use what? Double square, the double star. So that's to raise. Do you get that now?
Yes.
Yes.
Then if you want to divide, so it will be 10 divided by 5. Now, do you see that this gives you 2.0, and 2.0 becomes what?
A float.
2.0 is what? A float, is it not? If I want to enter new cells, how do I go to a new cell? Enter a new cell.
Alt enter.
Alt enter. That is a new cell, is it not? If I want to run it, Control enter. If I want to enter a new cell, Alt enter. Is that clear? Good.
Hello?
Now, if I want to just get the 2, only the 2 alone, I don't want that 2.0.
Yes, sir?
Hello? So if I just want to,
Hold on, Keanu.
sorry, is someone talking to us? All right. So if I just want to get it, so I don't want that 2.0. So there's something called floor. It's called what? Floor division. It's called what? Floor what? Division. Can you see that? Floor division. So to just give you 2, that's what a whole number. The other one will give us a float, but this will give us a whole number.
What did you call it? Sorry.
Floor division, floor.
Floor as in floor, ground.
Floor, yes, floor. So it's called what? Floor division. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Floor division. This one here is what? Square of a number. Can you see that? So here is what? The number division. Now, can you see where comments help you? So that in case you are not there, somebody can read it and say, okay, I understand what this guy is trying to achieve there. Okay? So when we are learning, because as analysts, as beginners, we must always learn to document. Always learn to what? Document. Okay? Always learn to what? Document. Always learn to what? Document. I hope we are clear with this. Are we clear with this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. So sometimes we may not always have that time to be writing it one after the other. We may not always be able to write it one after the other. So what we can do, so that's where we come to strings. Remember, whenever you're writing a string, how do you enter a string? Francis. How do you enter a string?
Using quotation.
Always use quotation. So Francis is a boy, isn't it? Right? Francis is a boy, right? You can write it there. However, this is where most times in Python, if you, for example, after running certain tasks, let's say, for example, 1 plus 1 is 2, is it not? You want to run another one. Maybe I want to run maybe 3 plus 4. It will give me something else, is it not? Then I want the result of 2 plus 7 now, is it not? And I want the result of 2 plus 7, is it not? So 2 plus 7 to give me what? To give me what now? 2 plus 7 will give me what?
9.
To give me 9, is it not? So that's what we wanted to achieve, is it not? That's what we want to achieve. Now, to do that, we can now put them inside a container. And that container is called a variable. It's called what? A variable. And what do we say a variable is? What do we say a variable is? What is a variable?
Can take any.
Can take anything, is it not? Can take anything, okay? So in Python, when we want to put a variable, we just put a string, a text, is it not? But in this case, there will be no quotation mark. So anytime you see without quotation mark, it means it's what? Seen as what? A variable. Do we get that now? It will be seen as a variable. So that means A is not the same thing as A. Are they the same thing? Is this A the same as this A?
No.
Is it not? This A represents what? A represents
variable.
what?
Variable.
A
A
variable.
variable.
Why this A represents what?
A string.
A
String.
string, is it not? So we say a variable is a container, I can store anything, is it not? So A is equals to 1. B is equals to, let's say, 2, is it not? And C is equals to what? A plus B. Can you see that now? What is C? What is C?
3.
3. So when I run it now, can you see how it has worked? Can you see how it has worked? So it goes line by line, but you run the last line for you. The output you are going to see is the last line. Do you see that now? So instead of you to always be typing it somewhere, you can always be storing it somewhere, which is called what? A variable. Now, when you guys started with R, I'm sure you learned that R, this is how you do assignment. So when you have A is equal to, so equal to here means what? Assignments. A means what? A equal, that equal to sign means what? So this equal to sign tells you that what? Equal to means what? And what? Assignments. So assignments. So when you say assignment, what does assignment mean? Assignments. What does it mean? Assignments. So you say you have not yet assigned it to a variable. What does that mean? You have not been assigned to a variable. What does that mean?
The variable doesn't have a value yet.
It doesn't have what? A value yet, is it not? It
Yes.
doesn't have a what? A value yet. Now you see, what we have done here, what we have written here is exactly how you must first of all think about, first of all, you must think about the process first. What am I trying to achieve? You must have that at the back of your mind, is it not? Then before you start going step by step to start writing what you want to achieve. All right. So that's what they call your what? Syntax or your code, right? Or sometimes they'll tell you it's an algorithm. It's following a particular step-by-step approach, you know, to achieving it. Okay. So that is what, how to use what? A variable. Is that clear? Is that clear? And a variable can take anything. It can take anything. A equals to 1. 1 is what? What does 1 represent? What is 1?
Integer.
1 is what? An integer, is it not? If I say A is equals to 2.5. Can you see that? Remember, I assigned A before as 1. Now I'm assigning A as 2.5. Now, which one will you remember? Which one will you remember? Is it the 1 or the 2.5? Which one will you remember?
The 1.
The 1, right? If you
Yes.
remember what? The 1. Because 1, is it the 1 or the 2.5? The 1 was the previous one. It was the 2.5 is the last one. It was the most recent one.
No.
Okay? So whenever you are entering it, it is the last one that always remembers. It means you have replaced that previous one with a new one.
Sorry, I didn't get how 2.5 was the last one. Was that the last thing you did? How come it's on
Yes.
top of the 1?
Now that I entered it, so if you look at the line, can you look at that line?
Yes.
Do you notice that 1 was 39, the other one was 40?
Yes.
Do you notice that?
Yes.
So it means 40 is more recent than 39.
So does it mean that when you entered it, it took it up or what?
Yes. If we look at another one, let me enter that one. So let me move, no matter where I go now, so if I just create a new cell here, so if I put A is equals to 50. Can you see it now?
Okay.
So what is A now? What does A represent now? I've have different A's now. So which one is A now? So anytime I call up A, what should A see? What will A see? What should it do that? What should it return for me?
50.
It should return 50 for me. So whenever you are replacing the variables, it will replace the previous one. So it's just like you are saving, okay, let me do this work, but let me just save it inside this variable first. So later I can come back to it. Okay? So that's like what a variable does. It's just like a container to store things for you. Do you see that now?
Yes.
We said that a variable can store anything. So I can also say A is equals to what? Francis is a boy. You know? So when I run A now, what do I expect to see? What do I expect to see?
Francis is a boy.
I expect to see Francis is what? A boy. Do you see that now? So the same way, we can have that. So it means I can have something like this. Now, please take note, for a variable, you cannot use a number as a variable. I cannot say A is 12 is equals to A. It doesn't work that way. So a variable can never be a number. It is going to always be what? A string. You get that? Is that clear? So you cannot use a number to assign. So if, for example, I have A is equals to 1, B is equals to 2. Can you see that? What is B? What is B?
2.
Yeah, B is what? 2, is it not? Good. Now you notice how I assigned it like this. Can you see how I assigned it like this? You know, if it was in R, you know you can assign it like this. You know that in R. It means I'm assigning to the left. But in Python, it's not the same way. Okay. So for Python, you must always assign using what? Equal to. Okay. Now, another thing I want to also show you is that just the same way we have assigned A is equals to 1, B is equals to 2. I can also do it this way. A comma B is equals to 1 comma 2. Or let me use 11 comma 12 so that you can see the difference. So let's run that now. What is A now? What is A?
1.
What is A is what?
So 11.
A is what? 11. Is it not? What is B?
12.
B is what? 12. Can you see that plan? You can also assign like this. Are we clear with this? Are we clear with this?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. So we have talked about what? Text, is it not? We have talked about numbers, is it not? Integers and floats. We have talked about what? Strings, is it not? Now take note of another. So for example, if I have first name, so first name, you cannot use a space like this and say Francis. It doesn't work that way. So instead, what do you do? What do you do? What will you do? What will you do now to avoid this problem?
The first name is not a variable. You can do A equal to first name first. Oh, hold on. Then don't do A equal to. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can do that, but the point is that you see a variable does not allow you to put space in the names. Do you see that? We said a variable, first of all, does not allow you to use what? Numbers, you know, integers, floats, doesn't allow you. It also does not allow you to have spaces. So instead of that space, what do we now do for the space? Instead of a space there, what do we do?
Put an underscore.
We put an underscore. You know, remember in the SQL, is it not?
Underscore.
Underscore, exactly. So I can have name. I can have maybe some name. Is it not? Now, if I say, okay, first name, is it not, plus some name, what will it give me? Some name plus first name, what will it give me?
Francis.
Yeah?
It will give you Francis Okoye.
Can you see that? So it means that in this case, I am joining two texts together. In Excel, what do you call this in Excel?
Concatenate.
It's called what? Concatenate. So it means I can do that and do this, is it not? Plus, can you see that now? It's called concat. You see that? So that is why whenever I see a number, this plus this, what will I get? What will it
23.
give me? Eh?
Error.
2 and 3, but
3 is a string. It's giving you an error.
3 is a string, is it not?
Yes.
yeah,
But if I have something like this, 2 plus 3, what will it give me?
23.
Can you see that? If I have 2 plus 3, what will it give me?
5.
5.
That is why you must always be on the lookout, is it not? To know whether they are text or they are strings, is it not? Numbers or integers, so that you know what's going on there. Is that clear? So when I have two texts, when I put addition, it means I am doing a concatenation. Did we get this?
Yes.
Making sense? All right. Peter, I'm sure you're already a programmer now. You should understand this one, Sabi.
I'm understanding, sir.
Okay, good. All right. So we said that a variable can take is a container that takes anything, is it not? But there are certain things you must understand. A variable cannot be a number. A variable cannot take what? Space, is it not? So that's why either use underscore or use a what? An abbreviated name for it. So that's why your variables can just take what? Short names, is it not? So that you can easily remember. Please don't ever write a sentence as a name or as a variable name, so that you don't start struggling to call it out later. Okay? Always make sure they are short. So sometimes you're writing first name like this. Some people, what would they do? What would be an alternative way of doing it? It can be, you see, F name, is it not? F name, or some people just put FN. But F name is okay. And
Wait,
avoid the situation where you decide.
Hello? Please, can you repeat your last comments? Why people do F name instead of? I didn't get that.
Okay, so we don't want a situation where you write a variable that will be too long. Because whenever I want to call up that variable, it will be difficult for me to start typing everything in full. So I need an abbreviated name, so I can always call it up. So I can just say F name equals to.
Okay.
Francis. Do you get that?
Yeah, thank you.
And that's just. But first name, that's fine. But at least let the variables be something that is descriptive. It's not that somebody can understand. But if not, put a comment there at the first instance so that they can understand what's going on there. All right. So we see how we have started. So data types, we have talked about integers, we have talked about floats, we have talked about string, is it not? Right? Anytime something complex number comes up, I will explain it. But for now, let's start with one we already know. Always think about it from the point of Excel. Is that okay? Always think from the point of Excel, what you are trying to achieve. All right. Now, in some instance, you may want to always show what you have done. So for example, if I have A is equals to 1 plus 1, B is equals to 2 plus 2, and C is equals to 3 plus 3. What result will I have? What result will you show me?
Two, 4, 6.
It will show me what?
2, 4, 6.
2, 4, 6, right? It will be 2, 4, 6. But nothing has come out. Why?
You didn't call the variables.
I did not call you. The only thing I have done here is to do what? What did I do here?
Assign variable.
I only
Assign values to
assign.
the variable.
I only what? Assign. So if I say A, B, C, A, comma, B, comma, C, what will it give me?
2, 4, 6.
2, 4, 6.
A list.
Is it not? In form
Yes.
of what? A list. However, another way of doing this is to say, show me. And to show me, and that way of doing it. So for example, if I do it this way, 2, 4, 6, you see that one works, right? But let's do it another way. If I say A, B, C, what result will I have? What result will I have?
2, 4, 6.
4, 6, but it will
4,
come out in. Right?
It will always give me the last line.
Oh, interesting.
Do you see how it works? It
Okay.
will always give me the last line. So instead, what you wanted to do, show me 2, 4, 6, is it not? So there's a word called print. So print what? A. Is it not? So I can do it like this, print A, B, C, is it not? Or I can do it this way, print A, print B, and print C. Can you see that? 2, 4, 6. So print, is it not? So that's why whenever you are learning Python, you see some programs, they tell you, the first line they'll start with, they say print what? Hello world. I'm sure, have you seen this one before?
Yeah. Yeah.
They tell you
Yes,
the
sir.
first line ahead, print hello world. Okay. But so that you just understand the context in which it works. Are we clear with this now? So most time when you want to show it, you just say print. So print means show me. Okay, show me. Show me. All right, good. Are we clear so far? Are we clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, when we are working with Python, right? So we have seen that, oh, I want to have a number, I want to have a string. But sometimes I want to have a series of strings, like a list, right? Like a list. So for example, I can say A. So I can say, for example, A is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So if I click enter, right? So let's run A. Can you see that? A has shown me, oh, it contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I need to be specific what exactly it is. Right? I need to be specific what exactly it is it not? So if I want to know the data type, what do I do? I'll put type. Type means what? Like the data type, is not? So type of A, this is what? A tuple. Can you see that? A tuple. Right? But if I have the same A and I put it in a square bracket, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I run it now. If I run A now, can you see it? Can you see a square bracket now?
Yes.
So if I come back here to run it now, type of A, what will it give me? What will it give me? So anytime it's a square bracket, what does that tell you?
It's a list.
It's a list. Anytime you see it in your normal bracket, what does it tell you?
It's a tuple.
It's a tuple, right? It's a tuple. Then whenever I put it in this bracket, you know, this coily bracket. Where's my coily bracket? Can you see my coily brackets? My coily brackets. What does that tell me? So if I run type now, what does that tell me now?
It's a set.
There is a what? Is a set. Can you see that now? So the kind of bracket you put matters, is it not? So most times we are going to be working with lists, right? But there are slight differences between them. But I don't want to go in depth into all this first for now, right? But much later we'll start explaining them one after the other. But what is important to know that the kind of bracket you use matters in Python. If I put a square bracket, it's telling me something. If I put a coily bracket, it's telling me something. If I put a normal bracket, it's also telling me another thing. Is that clear? Do we get that?
What did you say curly brackets was again?
A set.
Okay.
You know, for example, when we talk about a list there, a list, right? So a list, which bracket do we use for a list? A list, which bracket do we use for a list?
Square bracket.
Square bracket. So anytime it's a square bracket, it means it's what? A list. And a list is simply what? A collection of, you can take anything, either integers, it can take floats, it can take string, it can take anything, is it not? So it's just a collection of what? Data. And another thing you must take note that it can be changeable, right? It can change. It can allow duplicates. So let's look at it. So let's say I have A is equals to, so this one tells me what? This one tells me what? What does this tell me?
A is a set.
Is a set, is it not? But if I have it this way, what does this tell me?
It's a list.
It's a list, is it not? So in a list, I can have 1, 1, 2, 2. I can have Francis. Is it not? I can have, can you see that? It can take anything. If I come here now check, what is the data type now? What is the data type for A? What is the data type for A? What is the data type for A?
It's a list.
Is what? A list. Now, this same thing I have wrote here. Right? This same thing I have wrote here. Let us put it in form of what is. So what is this now? What is this?
A set.
A set, is it not? So whenever I run A, so let me run A now so that we can see it now. So if I say A, so instead of me going to a new line, I would have just come to this same line and come and say print what? A. Do you understand what print does now? What will print do?
Show A.
It will show the result of A, exactly. Now, what do you notice that happened?
Remove the duplicates.
It removed duplicate. Means that sets do not allow what? Duplicates. Do you see that now? But for a list, it will allow what? Duplicates. Do you see that now? So that's why we say a list is just a collection of what? Data. It can take anything. It can take what? Anything. It's it is changing. You can also change it. It can allow what duplicate. Okay, it can allow what duplicates. But for a set, you notice that what it doesn't allow what duplicates, isn't it? It doesn't allow what duplicates. Is that clear? Later we'll come into slicing. We'll come and talk about slicing, right? Very soon we'll talk about slicing. But for now, it's just to introduce them to you. Okay, it's just to introduce them to you. All right. So the same way we have. So the same way we have this, we can also have, let's say, fruit. I can have what? Apples. I can have what? Mango. Is it not? I can have what? Cherry, isn't it? So those are what? Fruits. You see that? So they can also take what? Text, is it not? So these are what? Fruits, isn't it? But let's say, for example, I have another set again. Maybe I say fruit 1. Now here, let's say I put banana. Maybe I have what again? Which other fruit again? Which other fruit again can I have? Let's say pineapple. Maybe I have what other fruit again? What other fruits? Avoid this problem. See where I'm going to go and put capital letter B. That thing can cause a problem for me later. Cherry. Which other one again? Mention another fruit.
Watermelon.
Watermelon. So right inside a string, I can put a space there. So it really doesn't matter at that point. Okay, so fruit 1. So is it now possible for me to say fruits, right? Sorry, the keyboard. Fruits plus fruit 1. Is it possible for me to add 2 lists together? Can I add 2 lists together?
Yes.
Yes.
So if I run it like this, can you see what has happened? So I can now say all fruits. I can say all fruits. You see now I want to store it inside the variable, is it not? Then I can now say fruits. I can just say print fruits. Print what?
All fruits.
Fruits. Can you see how it works now?
Yes, sir.
Can you see how it works? Now, the same way, assuming they were all numbers. So the way I want to have numbers. So let's say, for example, I want to enter. So if I say A is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 like this, is it not? Now someone will now ask me, so assuming I want to enter up to 100, will I have to be typing it 1 to 100 in that way? Can you see that? So there was something we talked about at the beginning. We talked about what? A range, is it not? We talked about what? A range.
Yeah.
We talked about what? A range, right? So if I say a range of 5, or let's say a range of 5, right? Range of 5, what does it mean? A range of 5, what does it mean? Where is it counting from? Range of 5, where is it counting from?
From 0.
It's starting from 0. So count it to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't it?
Yes.
So if I want to see the whole numbers, what do I call it? I'll say list what? Range what? 5. Do you see what has happened now? List what? Range what? 5. So what does this tell us? That whenever you are entering a list, it reads it as what? An index. So this starts from index what?
0.
A 0. So if I'm reading it to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see that? That's exactly what you are seeing here. But if I want it, let's say 1 to 5. 1 to 5, what will I do? I want you to read it 1 to 5. What do I now do? Get me 1 to 5. I'll say leave range what? 1 to 5. What will I do?
Range 6.
1 to 6. Is it not? So it will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because this is going to be written as what? Index what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, isn't it? Because remember, I didn't start from index 0, I removed 1, is it not? But if I had just done 6 like this, you see what you do? It will always start from what? The index 0. So now I don't want that index 0. I want to start it from index what? 1. So that's you read as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that now? Can you see how it works now? So it always starts from what? Index what? 0. So whenever you are reading it, it starts from what? Index what? 0. It starts from what? Index what? 0. Did we get this? So that's the same way. If I want to say list, now let me ask you, in Excel, how many rows can Excel take?
1 million.
1 billion, is it not? Will Excel be able to take 2 billion? Will Excel be able to take 2 billion?
No.
All right, so let's now see range 1 to 2 billion. So let's see which, if Excel will take it. Find 1, 2, 3. My keyboard enemies are at work. Okay, how many is this now? So how many do I need now? And that 3 again. 1, 2, 3. How many is it? Is this 20 million? Is this 2 billion now?
Yes.
Okay, 2 billion. Now will Excel be able to take this?
No.
What did it tell you?
Object cannot be interpreted as
What? So let's see. Okay.
an integer.
Yeah, so let's remove that last one. So anytime you open one, you close, you open, you close. So let's run and check. How many seconds did it take us to run it? You see this dot, what does it tell you?
It continues.
It continues to the end, is it not? It continues to the end. So you see, with Python, you can take any amount of data, unlimited amount of data. So that's why you see that as you see transactions grow, is it not? Excel will have its limitations. So this is where you see how fast. Now, even if you are trying this in also in Excel, you see, as long as that's contained it like this, even if you have managed to save it, you see when you want to open it, you see how Excel will start struggling, especially when the file now becomes larger. Okay, you start struggling with Excel, but Python will handle it very easily. Okay, although it may not show everything at once for you, but it's already there. Do we get that? It's already there. Clear? Are we clear with this? So rather than you entering 1, 2, 3, so you can just use a range, then put it in form of a list. And this list now, we can also put it in a variable. I can put it in a variable. Let's say I can say numbers. Now, please take note. You see this green. When you see it in green, what does it tell you? Whenever you see it in green, what does it tell you? When you see it in green, what does it tell you?
The keyword.
It's a keyword. Anytime you see it in green, avoid using them as variables. So for example, don't go and say list. I'll go and put a list as a variable. You'll be having problems. Because you don't be sure which list are you talking about. Are you talking about the keyword or are you talking about your variable? So you can start getting confused. So avoid using keywords as a variable name. Is that clear? Like using range. Yes, even sum. I think sum is even a keyword. Sum. Avoid that. Right? So avoid using what? Avoid using keyword as variable names. Just to avoid problems. So we have given certain rules about how to what? Name your variables, is it not? The first one we mentioned is our what?
Don't use
What did we say?
capital
Do not use what?
capital letters
Yes,
or space.
everything should be lowercase, is it not? Use everything should be lowercase. What again?
Don't use spaces between your.
Do not use spaces, is it not? Do not use spaces. What again?
Don't use keywords as.
Yes, do not use keywords as variable names. Yes. What again? Yes, what again? We also said do not use numbers as variables, is it not? You cannot assign
Yeah.
a number as what? A variable what name. Good. So I hope we are clear up to this point. Are we clear up to this point? So we have seen numbers, is it not? Under numbers, we have numeric, is it not? We have looked at what? Integers, we have seen floats. Is it not?
Yes.
We looked at strings, is it not? We have looked at strings. We have looked at strings. Let me use floats. Is it not? Now we have also looked at what? List, is it not? We have seen example of set. We have seen example of a tuple. How do you know a tuple? How do we know a tuple?
You can check with the type or
Yes, it's
the type keyword.
bracket, is it not? What about a set?
Curly
set,
bracket,
curly bracket. What about a list?
square bracket.
Exactly. Do we get that now? So there's one more that we want to look at, which is a dictionary, right? A dictionary. Remember we're talking about mapping. Is it not mapping? So we also talked about what? A dictionary. Okay. Now for dictionaries, you know, for example, if I have, let's say we have fruits. Let's say fruit one. Let's say we have, let me see. I think we have fruits like this. We have fruits, is it not? So let me type fruits. Okay. So fruit, what do we have for fruits? Okay, good. So let's say fruit one is what? Apple, is it not? Fruit two, mango. Fruit three, cherry, isn't it? So I want to put them in one place, is it not? I'll say all fruits. All fruits, is it not? So all fruits will be what now? So now, if I put a square bracket, what does it tell us?
Is a list.
A square, sorry, a curly bracket. What does it tell us?
The set.
Is a set, is it not? But the moment I see a square bracket, but I'm now seeing, okay, fruit one. Can you see that? I now have what? Fruit one. Now I have what? Fruit one. I have apple, isn't it? Comma. Fruit two. Fruit two. I have what? Fruit two. I have what? Mango. And fruit three. And fruit three. I have
Cherry.
what? Cherry, isn't it? I have what? Cherry. Now, what is the data type here now? Is this a list, a set? Is this a set?
It has curly brackets. Looks like a set.
It looks like a set, but because it has a key, can you see a key? A key, and it has a value. It is known as what? A what? Dictionary. It's known as what? It's known as what? A dictionary. So if I say type or truth, can you see that? It's known as what? A dictionary. It's known as what? A dictionary. So imagine your dictionary. So when you open your normal dictionary, what do you see in your dictionary?
A name and its definition.
A keyword, is it not? A keyword and its meaning, is it not? Or a
Yeah.
definition. So that is exactly what you have here. You have the keyword, the key, and you have the value. Okay. So whenever you have a curly bracket and you just have a list of value inside the curly bracket, that is what is called a set. But the time you have a curly bracket with a keyword and its value, it is known as what? A dictionary. It's known as what? A dictionary. I hope this is clear. I hope this is
Yes,
clear.
sir.
Good.
Yes.
So if we don't have any questions, maybe we can end it here so that we don't complicate already complicated issues. Right? How many of us this first time we are introduced to programming?
This is my first time.
Okay, this is your first time. Okay, this is your first time. Okay, that's fine. So you see, it's really not at this stage, right? It's really not as so you see, Python is really not that difficult to learn, right? It's really not that as long as you understand these basics. Whenever you go to any other programming language, just ask yourself, okay, what's the data type? How does it accept a number? How do I enter a string? How do I enter a list? Does it have a list? So you need to understand the zone word data type. So what we have covered today is the word basic word data types. And remember what we require as data analysts. Is it not? There may be more than that. Is it not? I told you there are other things like your complex numbers, your Boolean, your bytes, right? Those are other kind of words this thing I can work with. But these are the basic word data word types. I hope this is clear.
Yes, sir.
Please make sure you try to practice. You see, like
Please,
this
can you
one
scroll
now.
to the end?
Is that what?
Please, can you scroll to the end?
Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
All right, good. So we have seen some of the data types and how to identify the data types. You know, so if I want to check the type, I'll just say type. You see, somehow some things are just like English language. Type. And I just type the name of the variable there. Okay. We have seen some rules how to what assign what variable names, what to do and what not to what do, isn't it? So when we come next week, we'll build it up from here. Then we'll start seeing how to slice it. We'll now see how to what slice your what list, your dictionary, is it not? And how they work. Then gradually we'll start building them into some kind of analysis. Okay. So I think we can end it here so the video doesn't get too long. All right, guys. So thank you very much. So we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Oh.